What's up, fantasy managers? Welcome back to another episode of the First Pitch Podcast brought to you by PitcherList.com. My name is Jake Crumpler, and I'll be your host for this edition of the podcast. You can follow me on Twitter at Jake Crumpler, and you can find all of my work at CrumplerBaseball.com. Let's dive into everything baseball related from Tuesday, July 1st. We'll start it off, as always, with our transactions, injuries, news, and notes from the past week, kicking things off with the bad news as third baseman Christian Koss was placed on the 10-day IL with a hamstring strain. Pretty unfortunate, as the Giants just cannot seem to find a healthy third baseman. It's almost like they don't have a guy named Rafael Devers on their team. Nonetheless, with Matt Chapman on the IL, Casey Schmidt was filling in at the hot corner for the Giants. Schmidt then landed on the IL, and now Koss, who was filling in for Schmidt, has hit the IL with a hamstring strain. So it looks like Wilmer Flores will fill in at the hot corner for the Giants until Chapman is healthy. In a corresponding move, outfielder Luis Matos was recalled from the minors. And our other IL placement involves shortstop Gabriel Arias, who was placed on the 10-day IL with an ankle sprain. Brian Rocchio was recalled from the minors in a corresponding move and will take over as the Guardians' everyday shortstop in Arias' stead. In terms of transactions, third baseman Paul DeJong was activated from the 10-day IL. He had been out for 2 months after being hit in the face by a pitch, which broke his nose and his orbital, which is the bone around his eye. DeJong is likely on the short side of a DH platoon for the Nationals, and in the field, he'll see most of his time at third base. In a corresponding move, Andres Chaparro was optioned to the minors. Next, we have third baseman Royce Lewis, who was activated from the 15-day IL. He had been out for quite a while with a hamstring strain. He's got pretty lengthy recovery timelines because of his extensive injury history, but it looks like Lewis will be the Twins' everyday third baseman moving forward. I was a bit surprised to see Lewis slotted in the 8-hole for the Twins. It's really surprising how far his prospect star has fallen. I know he was great a couple of years ago, and last year was a little bit underwhelming. This year, even more so. So hopefully Lewis can get back on track and show us that he can still hit grand slams like he was doing just about every at-bat a couple of years ago. Next, we have outfielder Derek Hill, who was out with a wrist sprain and was activated from the 10-day IL by the Marlins. He'll be on the short side of a left field platoon. Next, we have outfielder Yankiel Fernandez, who was officially recalled from the minors to make his MLB debut. Fernandez is the number 5 Rockies prospect, and it looks like he'll be on the strong side of a right field platoon, forcing Mickey Moniak to the bench as expected. And lastly, outfielder Jorge Soler was activated from the 10-day IL. He missed just about the minimum time with a back injury and will return to being the Angels' everyday right fielder. Prior to the injury, unfortunate season thus far for Soler in his first year in Anaheim, batting just .207 with 8 homers and a 77 WRC+. And in terms of news, outfielder Kerry Carpenter is expected to be placed on the 10-day IL with a hamstring strain. In a corresponding move, shortstop Trey Sweeney is expected to be recalled from the minors. He will be on the bench, but with Carpenter out of the picture, Riley Green is expected to see more time at DH, which will allow Matt Vierling to see time in left field. And lastly, starting pitcher Brandon Woodruff is expected to be activated from the 60-day IL on Sundays to start in Miami. It's been a couple years since Woodruff has made a start in the majors because of shoulder surgery and subsequent delays to his recovery. So excited to see what Woodruff does. I don't know if we want to start him right away. He's been doing rehab starts throughout the whole year, but I'd be picking him up in the majority of leagues. This is a guy who has the ability to be an ace, and which makes him worth rostering in most leagues. Now we'll take a look at our notable performances from Tuesday, a day in which we had just 12 games as the matchup between the Padres and Phillies was postponed. Same with the matchup between the Tigers and Nationals, as well as the matchup between the Brewers and the Mets. We'll start it off with our hitters, leading off with outfielder Lourdes Gurriel, who helped the Diamondbacks to win against the Giants, going 1 for 3 with 2 runs, a home run, 2 RBIs, and a walk. It was his 12th homer of the year, and it traveled 403 feet at 104 miles per hour. And Gurriel is in the midst of his worst offensive season, according to WRC Plus. Campaign and season are synonyms if you didn't know, but there's hope outside of his impressive performance on Tuesday, as Gurriel is rocking the worst BABIP of his career, a direct result of a screwed up launch angle that's seeing him produce the highest fly ball rate and infield pop-up rates of his career. However, StatCast agrees that he's still been unlucky despite those less than ideal batted ball launch angles, despite also having the worst hard hit rate of his career. I think with a slight tweak to his swing, we could see Lourdes take off in the second half, propelling him to a line we've come to expect in years past, something around 270 batting average with 20 homers. He's not far off right now, batting 251 with 12 homers. So honestly, it feels like the ceiling is even higher this year if he can continue this power surge. Next, we have outfielder Cal Stowers, who helped the Marlins to win against the Twins, going 2 for 4 with a run, a home run, and an RBI. It was his 14th homer of the year, and it traveled 369 feet at 99 miles per hour. And Stowers is breaking out in his first full major league season, batting .283 with an .868 OPS, fully supported by improved plate discipline and batted ball metrics. An aggressive hitter last year, Stowers walked just 6% of the time, while fanning in more than 35% of his plate appearances. This year, 10% walk rate and a 29% strikeout rate. Those whiffs will probably catch up to him at some point, but I don't think it's going to matter because he's produced a ridiculous 19% barrel rate, which is in the 98th percentile, according to StatCast. That suggests that even if his production in the average category falls off, his power production will only increase. And I think Stowers needs to be rostered everywhere. I think I said that a couple months ago at the beginning of the season when Stowers was initially breaking out, and I feel vindicated knowing that he's continued to do so. And lastly, second baseman Andres Gimenez helped the Blue Jays to win against the Yankees, going 2 for 3 with 3 runs, a home run, 3 RBIs, and a walk. He's up to 5 homers now. This one traveled 408 feet at 101 miles per hour. And similarly to Lourdes, Jimenez is also in the midst of his worst offensive campaign, and he's been even more egregiously unlucky, sporting a .226 BABIP that can't be blamed on more balls in the air. It's just been bad luck for him, which lends a lot of credence to a monster to the suggestion that a monster second half is in store for Jimenez. It could also lead to improvements in his fantasy relevance because as things stand, Jimenez's 5 homers and 10 steals are underwhelming for a player who was a perennial 30 stolen base threat with a little pop in years past. Jimenez will need to get back to pulling his fly balls if he wants to tap into more power, but that's not really why we roster him. However, we can count on him to steal more as his bad luck subsides and he reaches base more often. I'd be buying low on Jimenez if you're in need of steals or batting average. But if you'd like more information on notable hitting performances from Tuesday, check out the daily Batters Box article over on PitcherList.com. Now we'll head to the mound and check out some notable starting pitching performances, opening with Shane Baz, who did all he could, but the Rays lost to the A's. He tossed 7 innings, allowing 7 hits and 300 runs while walking 1 and punching out 11. He induced 20 whiffs with 38% CSW across 90 pitches, and Baz really only needed 2 pitches to dominate in this one as he pulled off the BSB effectively. It's the Blake Snell blueprint, as his heater was unhittable, inducing 14 whiffs and 56% CSW up in the zone, while he dropped the hammer with his curve for 5 whiffs and 41% CSW downstairs. Baz did incorporate cutters 18% of the time in an attempt to take the pressure off his other offerings to earn strikes, but it failed to do much, returning just 50% strikes, 0% CSW, and 3 hits, including a homer. It's a little weird, too, as Baz is coming off a start in which he fanned 9, with that cutter being the star of the show, and it really was nothing to be proud of here. It's nice to know, though, that he doesn't have to rely on any one pitch to be successful, and Baz is clearly on a roll, meaning we're starting him in Detroit in his next outing. Next, we have Edward Cabrera, who helped the Marlins to win against the Twins, tossing 7 shutout innings, allowing just 2 hits and 1 walk while striking out 6. He induced 14 whiffs with 33% CSW across 93 pitches, and our secondary streamer came through, and it is so dope watching ECAB's ascension. He's found so much success this year with his newfound ability to get strikes, likely stemming from his focus on a sinker over his 4-seamer. The sinker did its job on Tuesday, returning 62% strikes and 29% CSW, while Cabrera's breakers did the dirty work. His changeup was effective to both righties and lefties, inducing 6 whiffs and 33% CSW, while his slider couldn't be touched despite being offered in the zone half the time, as it also induced 6 whiffs, but held a massive 41% CSW. Cabrera's curve acted as a strike-stealing offering, racking up 6 called strikes and 39% CSW, and I'm not dropping this version of Cabrera anywhere, even with the Brewers up next. And lastly, we have Grant Holmes, who did all he could, but the Braves lost to the Angels. He tossed 6 scoreless innings, allowing just 3 hits and 3 walks while punching out 10. He induced 27 whiffs with 39% CSW across 106 pitches, and that earned him the Gallows Pole and the King Cole, which earned him the Golden Goal, as Grant Holmes led baseball in whiffs and CSW on Tuesday. And sometimes Holmes just looks like the best pitcher in baseball on a given night, and it's a bit surprising. He was solid in his past 2 starts following up the impressive performance he had in mid-June, but those 2 performances were nowhere near that 15 strikeout outing he had versus the Rockies, nor the double-digit punch-out performance he had on Tuesday. His slider was once again incredible as it took over and tortured the Angels, inducing a whopping 16 whiffs and 44% CSW, while his heater landed in the zone and avoided enough damage to get him through 6 shutout frames. Surprisingly, Holmes's curveball stepped up as well with 5 whiffs on just 13 offerings, and his cutter showed up out of nowhere for 36% CSW. That's a pitch that he threw just one time in that 15 strikeout performance. Holmes is inconsistent, but his impressive highs make up for his bearable lows, and we keep rolling with the Orioles up next. But if you'd like a breakdown of every single start from Tuesday, give the Plus Pitch podcast a listen and check out Nick's daily SP roundup over on pitcherlist.com. Now we'll head to the bullpen and check out the relievers that got saves and the closers that pitched outside of save situations or blew their saves. Starting with the former, David Bednar recorded his 12th save with a scoreless ninth. Ronnie Henriquez pitched a perfect ninth for his 4th save. Mason Miller pitched a hitless 10th for his 17th save. Daniel Palencia recorded his 9th save with a perfect ninth. Jacob Latz pitched 3 scoreless innings to earn his first save of the season as he transitions from the rotation. Josh Hader worked around a solo shot in the 9th to record his MLB leading 24th save. And lastly, Carlos Estevez pitched a perfect 9th for his 23rd save. And in terms of closers to pitch outside of save situations or blow their saves, Pete Fairbanks pitched a perfect 9th in a tie game that the Rays would lose in 10 innings. And lastly, Kenley Jansen pitched a scoreless 9th with a 4-run lead. The Angels scored all 4 of their runs in the 8th, so there's a little bit suggesting that Jansen was sort of lined up for a save opportunity, or at least they wanted to ensure they won that game. But if you'd like more information on relief pitchers, check out Rick Graham's weekly articles over on pitcherlist.com. And before we look forward to today's games, we're going to take a quick break. Now look forward to Wednesday, July 2nd, a day in which we'll have a packed slate of 19 games, as we'll see double headers between the Tigers and Nationals, Padres and Phillies, as well as the Brewers and Mets. And we'll also see 2 games between the Reds and the Red Sox as they'll resume their suspended game from I don't know which day, but they are resuming a suspended game. In terms of my matchup of the day, I'll be watching Yusei Kikuchi versus Didier Fuentes. Great name on the latter pitcher. I think that's really the only reason I want to watch him. I have not gotten the chance to watch Didier pitch yet, so excited to see what he can do. Nick suggests that despite getting blown up in his last start, he's still got some pretty good stuff, so I'm excited to see what he can do against the Angels. And Kikuchi has been on absolute fire recently, so I'm pumped to see if he can produce another double-digit strikeout performance. In terms of probable starters, we've got at least 9 guys in the auto starts tier, including Logan Gilbert versus the Royals, Hunter Brown in Colorado, and Shota Imanaga versus the Guardians. Our probably starts tier is 4 guys, and our questionable starts tier is 6 guys. And that's where we'll find our streamer of the day in Mick Abel versus the Padres. Abel hasn't started since June 21st as his last start got rained out, and then they just skipped him altogether. So I'm hoping he can come in without a lot of rust in the start versus the Padres and take advantage. I'd also keep an eye out for Brian Bayo versus the Reds. We get the Reds outside of Great American Ballpark, but it's still in Fenway, and Brian Bayo is a bit inconsistent with his sinker and changeup, but from time to time he's got pretty awesome stuff and can take down a Reds lineup outside of Cincinnati. In terms of hitter suggestions, I'd be looking at Tigers and Nationals hitters in their doubleheader in Nationals Park. We'll see Tyler Holton versus Trevor Williams in Game 1 and Jack Flaherty versus Mackenzie Gore in Game 2. I'd also look at Padres and Phillies hitters in their doubleheader in Petco Park, as we'll see Nick Pivetta square off against Mick Abel and Dylan Cease square off against Christopher Sanchez. I'll also be looking at Brewers and Mets hitters in their doubleheader in Citi Field. We'll see Freddie Peralta take on Clay Holmes, as well as Jacob Mizorowski take on Blade Tidwell. And lastly, I'll be targeting Astros and Rockies hitters in Coors Field as right-hander Hunter Brown squares off against Southpaw Austin Gomber. And I will close things out with our relievers to watch. Pete Fairbanks has pitched on back-to-back days, and so has Garrett Clevenger and Mason Montgomery. So we could see Edwin Uceta get a save for the Rays on Wednesday. And lastly, Mason Miller's pitched on back-to-back days, and top setup guy Michael Kelly has pitched in 3 in a row. So we could see Justin Sterner get a save opportunity for the A's on Wednesday. But that'll do it for today's episode of the First Pitch Podcast. Make sure to head on over to pitcherlist.com to check out all of the great articles and features we have on the site. Sign up for PL Plus or PL Pro to gain access to the Discord and to support the Pitcher List staff. You can follow me on Twitter at Jake Crumpler. Tune in live on YouTube tomorrow and every day for a new installment of the podcast. And make sure to enjoy the day as we are blessed with another day of baseball.